Well, we're welcoming you back to Foundation of a Nation. We took a little break, and we are going to continue our discussion about what Mr. Obama has been doing. We've talked about this voter ID thing that he's got the DOJ attacking Texas on. We are going to talk about this a little at length because all the things that he's been doing lately are they're very much bullying tactics. They're actually not in the Constitution for him to do. They're outside of the bounds of the Constitution, just like many other things that he's doing, that he has been doing. Okay, this goes back to a phrase when he first took office. I told people this, and we're going to talk about it at length now. He's a fascist. So the question is, what's a fascist? Now, I have read all kinds of different views on what a fascist is. People say it's somebody who's a socialist. It's an ideology. It's a type of government. Okay. For one, it's not a type of socialism. Two, it is an ideology. It's more of a practice, and from the time of Mussolini, he actually put it into the construction of a type of government system. Now, we're going to tweak that a little bit because what Mussolini did and what fascism is are not quite what he said fascism was. It's not quite what it is. It's really interesting. He wrote, and you can get this online. This is the only official text from the Doctrine of Fascism from Mussolini, from Benito Mussolini. It was written in 1932, and it was published, I believe, in 1935. But between 1932 and 1935, it was legitimately and officially a governmental system. All right, so what does that got to do with Founding Fathers? Well, Mussolini actually got a lot of what he does from Machiavelli, which is really an interesting thing because Machiavelli, he wrote a book called The Prince. And to make a long story short, it is basically a book. It's a how-to book to the Prince, and what it was designed to do was give all glory to the Prince. And he was actually what Machiavelli really wanted was his job back. And so this was his way of doing it. And in this Machiavellian theory, under his theory, everything is all around the Prince. The whole point of everything is for the Prince. Okay? That's kind of the way fascism works. Everything is all about the guy in charge. Okay? So, actually, in the science of policy, of political science, okay, science of people, they've actually made some finite characteristics of fascism. The reality is that a fascist will not acknowledge these. But they have found that this is exactly what they do. I'm going to read this list to you, and you see if this doesn't ring a few bells for you. All right, these are the characteristics of fascism. They're populist. They believe in populism. Okay, what's that? Populism is where you want to make sure that the quote-unquote masses, that you're popular with them. Okay, you do whatever that is going to make you look good. You do what is going to make you look good. All right. There's an intense nationalism, and that intense nationalism is actually your source of truth. Okay, so what do we have? We're supposed to have a federal system, but we have instead right now we're really nationalistic, and I'm a little concerned about that light. We got a light looking at me. So anyway, we're going to continue, but I want to emphasize the nationalism because it's not just a patriotism. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a power source. It is omnipotent. That's why it is the source of truth. It's because it's omnipotent. It's omniscient. It's all-knowing. It's all-powerful. That's the source of nationalism. Okay, 3, racism. That's a quality of fascism, is racism. You're bringing up the race card a lot. You're separating people out. You're singling people out. You're doing something with race. Okay. 4, cult of the leader. The leader is essentially as God. What do people say about Barack Obama? Okay, when he first got into office, people were saying he's like the Messiah. Yeah. typing with me in the background. Because, and what are people who are against Obama saying? He thinks he's the Messiah. He thinks he's God.
He thinks he's God.
He thinks he's God. Okay, so, you know, basically he was the rock star. He was this and that, and he was all and in all. Okay, so that's the fourth thing. The cult of the leader. And they're not to be questioned. Okay, now if you look at what Mr. Obama has done, he's written law as executive order. Nobody's questioned it. He has used the DOJ, the TSA, and several other branches of the government to beat up on Americans. Nobody has done anything. Okay, so you look at this and you think, and everybody, you know, if people who are not for this will say, why isn't anything being done? Tell you why, because it's fascism. Okay, it is all about the leader and not questioning what he does. Okay, all right. So the fifth thing is violence. Now this isn't necessarily an all-out shoot 'em up thing. Violence is when you're getting the people out of the way. So it's any kind of overt or covert action to move people out of the way. You're bullying them. Okay, what is he doing right now with Texas? He's trying to get them out of the way so that they can't. First, he did it with the redistricting. He tried to stop Texas from having a primary election, and now he's tying up the courts in their voter ID law. Okay, so what he's really trying to do is circumvent Texas's ability to legislate itself and to be sovereign. All right, so that's a sort of violence. TSA doing these pat downs. Okay, that's a source of violence. Now, is it getting the people out of the way? That depends. That depends on how you look at it. Are there people in office, or are there people that Mr. Obama attacks? Yes. Look at the Tea Party that's being vehemently opposed by the IRS for they're cherry picking. They're taking them aside from everybody else that's filing for a 501c3, and they're specifically targeting them. Specifically targeting. If you're not familiar with what they're doing, I read a lot of their letters last week on air. So if you want to hear that, you can hear. I think I did 4 versions. I think I did 4 versions of the letter last week. 3 or 4. I think I had 4 or 5 in hand, and I did 3 or 4 versions of the IRS letters of inquiry to the Tea Parties. Okay, and so that is a form of violence, because they're trying to circumvent their right to file as a nonprofit. All right, and the last one is irrationality. Okay, irrationality is where there is no form of reason. Reason does not lead to truth. That's the basic premise under it. It just gets in the way. It gets in the way of truth. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. Okay, Mussolini said, I'm going to quote this because he said, when he was asked a question, he said, the Democrats of El Mundo want to know our program. Okay, there is, by the way, no program with fascism. There is no program. There is no. It's kind of like every day. It's just whatever you do. Okay, it's kind of you know, the only way I can describe it is they're just bumping into walls as they go. Whatever day it is, they take care of it that day, and there's no real rhyme or reason to what they're doing. There's no plan, in theory. Okay, so this is what Mussolini said. He said, the Democrats of El Mundo want to know our program? It is to break the bones of the Democrats of El Mundo. Okay, does that sound a little familiar to you? It does to me, because what has Mr. Obama done? He's beat up on Christians, chastising them for Leviticus and Deuteronomy. He's beat up on the Tea Party, calling them evil and the enemy. He's called them the enemy, which he had to later retract. Okay, these are things that are irrational.
He's divided us.
He's very much divided us, and that goes back to the racism thing. Because what does he do all the time? All the time, he's always talking about, defending the Muslims, or defending this group over here, or the Hispanics here, or the blacks here. Okay, what happened to being American? And what happened to being white? I mean, it's
unacceptable.
It is. It's unacceptable. And here's the sad thing: is that, you know what? If we didn't have a president who was pointing out our differences all the time, I seriously don't think we would notice them.
We were on the road to not noticing that.
That's right. We were very much on the road to not noticing.
Very much on the road.
Right.
Now we're, what was that? Now we're noticing them more than we should.
Well, because they're in our face.
Because it's being brought up all the time.
That's right. That's exactly right. It's in our face. It's always there. It's always an issue. And if you looked at any of the government forms, it's telling. They have on the government forms. And by the way, if you ever fill out a form either for a job interview or for a school, and on the form it will have on there that you do not have to fill this out. It'll say what is your ethnicity, what race are you, and etc. And it'll say on there you don't have to fill it out. Okay. Most people don't know this, but if you don't fill it out, they do. Someone else who does the interview will fill it out for you because it's required.
Interesting.
It's not required for you to fill it out, but it is required to send it in. When it goes in anything goes in, like your W-2 forms or whatever it is, whatever federal form you have that has that little square, a little window on it, and it has the information about your ethnicity and your race and all that. And it'll say on there that it's optional, that you don't have to fill it out. They will fill it out for you if you don't. I know the reason why I know is because I was on that side. I used to be in the mortgage industry, and we had to fill it out.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be a record. So, and people don't know this.
Mm-hmm.
They think, well, I'll have filled out. And the only way that you would get around that is if it's online, because they wouldn't know it. But if you are in a personal interview, anytime you're in a personal interview, they have to make a record of it. Okay, why do they want to know this? Why do they even care? It should not matter. What should matter is, are you a citizen and are you not a citizen? Who cares what your ethnicity is? Ethnicity? Sorry, ethnicity. Who cares? Who cares what it is? Okay, so there they are. Populism, intense nationalism, racism, cult of the leader. In other words, they are the all and all. Okay, do you remember the flag with Mr. Obama on it? Okay, cult of the leader. What did she say when the veterans wanted to take it down? That they were racist. Okay? Violence, getting the people out of the way, and that's what violence is, and irrationality. Okay? You're irrational. It's not rational, it's not reasonable, it's not well thought out. There's no plan. All right, so there we go. There it is. You can. That's the degree of, that's what fascism is. And this actually came out of, like I say, Machiavelli. Why? Because Machiavelli, everything was all about the prince. That's fascism. So all the rules, some of the rules were, what he said in The Prince was that you want the people to like you. So you tote this line between having them fear you and having them love you. But if you have to take your pick between the two, it's better to have them fear you. Okay? That's fascism. Okay? That goes under the violence, that goes under populism. That's fascism. This is where Mussolini took his cues when he wrote about, and he says, in the opening lines, he says, the World Future Fund serves as, I don't want to read that. Like all sound political conceptions, fascism is action and it is thought. Action is in which doctrine is emanated, and doctrine arising from given system of historical forces in which it is inserted. Okay, he's talking about Machiavellism. Okay, now the interesting thing about fascism by Mussolini is that he says it is deeply religious. Okay, let me read that quote to you again that I just read you. Democrats, the Democrats of El Mundo want to know our program. It is to break the bones of the Democrats of El Mundo. Well, I'm sorry, but that sounds like a pretty scary religion to me. That's not the kind of religion I would like to have this country being taken over by. So, the reason I'm bringing this up is because people need to know what they're looking at. Really, really badly need to know what we're looking at. We are looking at a fascist in office. We are looking at a fascist system full of fascists. That's what we're looking at. Do we want to keep it? Now, the reason I bring this up is because we have an election coming up, folks. And here is the real crux to the matter. We've got 4 people running on the GOP ticket right now in the primaries. 3 of them are, depending on where you're located. Romney is way out in front. He's got twice as many as Santorum, and Santorum has got twice as many as Gingrich, and Gingrich has like 100 times more than Ron Paul. So, the reality is actually, I'm not sure if that's true. I think Ron Paul, I can't remember how much he has, but Gingrich might have twice as many. But it seems like Ron Paul's lagging quite a bit behind. Here's the thing. Folks, we need to get together. We need to pick the person who is going to be the person that can take out the fascist. Why? Because we're not going to have a constitution. We're not going to have a government that the founding fathers designed in 4 more years. It is the evidence is so compelling. Now, while we were in break, B made a really good comment about what's going on lately, because during the last few weeks, the last 2 or 3 weeks, during all of the furor of all the elections, what's been going on? All these weird things by Mr. Obama. Okay, now there was one thing that went on, and B, you mentioned it. Do you have your mic with you? Okay. So there was the one thing that you mentioned that I think we were talking about the flag. Were we talking about the flag? That was a distraction that Mr. Obama, you thought Mr. Obama.
No, we were talking about Bill Maher. We were
Bill
talking
Maher.
about Conservative Connection this morning.
Oh yeah, Bill Maher. Oh yeah. That's a great one. Okay, so the thing of it is Bill Maher has made some pretty stupid comments. It's actually so is Rush Limbaugh.
But they're elevating.
That's right. They're elevating because if you don't know, surely everybody knows about this. But Bill Maher's made some comments about a few people. Who hasn't he made comments about? But the reality is this thing with Rush Limbaugh and this thing with the what's her name, the lady that's with the condom thingy.
Ugh.
Yeah. Okay. That has all accelerated.
I call it fluke. Yeah.
Yeah, fluke. Okay, fluke. It's no fluke. So all of this has elevated to a point where, B made a great point. She made a great comment. She said, it really seems interesting to me that we've got this diversion going on, and in the background we have Mr. Obama doing all these weird things, fascist things, while nobody's looking.
While everybody's looking at Bill Maher, because it's easier to understand and comprehend that this idiot would be even more of an idiot, and than it is for us to look at what has happened to our nation and realize that we have sat back and let it happen because we don't know what to do about it.
Well, and part of that not knowing what to do about it is actually our own ignorance, because we've gone so long.
It's worse than that. It's the division. We can't
clearly
work together. They have divided us to a point where the Republicans and the Tea Parties don't stand on the same side.
And that is very correct. And this is my whole point. This is why I'm saying, no matter who you go for one of the 3. And you know what? And if it ends up being Romney and you're a Santorum person, or it ends up being Santorum and you're a Gingrich person, you know what? Roll with it.
Absolutely.
Because the question isn't which one of the 3 and everybody else is nefarious if they're not with you on yours. No. Here's the deal. If we don't decide that we want to take out a fascist in government,
More than we want our own spoiled way.
Exactly, exactly. You know, if you can't hear me, I don't know if they can hear you. Can
yeah,
you hear
they
me?
can. I'm
Excellent,
here.
very good. Okay, this is the point well taken. This is the whole point that we're getting at right now, is that, you know what? Quit beating up on your neighbor because they're for somebody you're not for. Quit making insults and insinuations online about how your opponent is nefarious.
Quit being a distraction and a divider.
Right. Exactly. Quit being a distraction and divider. Okay, I don't care how much you do or don't like one of the candidates or another. You know, my mother was great at colloquialisms, and here's one. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. It's a great one for us right now. The reason why is because, really, if we can't say anything nice about our opponent, shut up.
Did you hear the crickets just now? That's because everybody stopped talking.
That was funny. It's almost true. It's almost true.
Yeah, Facebook just went blank.
Yes, I mean, and it would be a day of silence. It wouldn't be a moment of silence. It would be a day of silence because there's so much garbage going on.
So much garbage.
People, I implore you, leave it alone. Okay? Leave it alone. Okay? The only person we want to be, I'm not going to say we don't want to be, we want to be unkind to, but the only thing we want to do right now is we don't want to give out our opponent's weaknesses, because if they become the candidate, what have you just done? You've given who fodder? Mr. Obama.
The enemy.
That's right, Mr. Obama. You've given Mr. Obama another, you know, he's actually right now, he's filed a complaint against China for trade in things. Where do you think that came from? It came from listening to the GOP debates. Okay? Because every debate talked about China and unfair trade practices. So what has he done? He's gone out and filed this. Why? Because he's trying to do what is number one on the characteristic of fascism. He's trying to gain popularity, and it's going in the tank so fast he can't control it. Okay, so he does this. So he files a complaint, says, you know what, China's doing this and that and the other thing. Okay, it's a little too late. You know, there's the old saying that's
too little, too late.
Too little, too late. Yeah, too little, too late. But he's still going to try it. It comes out of the GOP. Okay, that's all great and fine. You know, we want to be able to have our discourse, and we don't need to be afraid of Mr. Obama. But we don't need to add to it either. We don't need to make issues where we shouldn't be making issues. Okay, we have got, if you can't say something nice about your opponent, don't say anything. It's not helping. It isn't. If you don't like that Mr. Santorum is for or against animals, okay, understand the principle behind it. Walk away. You know, it isn't that you don't want to look at their record. You do. It's that you don't want to make somebody out to be nefarious, because the bottom line really is as president, are you going to endorse bills that are unconstitutional? It's an unconstitutional concept. Veto. Why? It's not because you're for or against animals. It's because you're for the Constitution, and because it's a state thing. The president has that ability to do that. He has the ability to say no. This is not legislation that's appropriate. I don't care which side of the line I'm on. It's not part of the federal government to do it. That's where we need to be. That's where we need to focus. And I would suggest that that's where we need to look at in our candidates, and look at what they do in the context of where they're at when they do it and how they do it, whether it's constitutional or not in their realm. You know, Mr. Santorum was a senator. Okay, look at his record according to the Constitution as a senator. Mr. Romney was a governor. Okay, so look at his record in the context of what is provided for states. Mr. Gingrich, okay, House Speaker and a member of Congress. The same with Mr. Paul. Look at their records based on the context of their position and compare it with what they're saying. Okay, and I would even admonish people not to look at the media so much, or at least look at their sources. I wrote an article last week about You can find it on theexaminer.com, Political Buzz in Houston, if you want to read it. It is about the Houston Chronicle wrote an article lambasting Romney for something. What was it? Oh, because he used private email while he was a governor. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is such an insane thing to even write an article on. Okay, it was an AP. AP put it out, and it went everywhere. Okay, I went back and I read the sources. I actually read the emails. Oh my gosh. Okay, you know what? If you go back and read the emails, you'd be convinced to vote for him because his emails are consistent. They were private emails about public policy, and they're consistent with what he's been saying he is, and this is why he's governor. And I'm thinking, this is silly. This is insane. And it doesn't happen to Romney. It happens to every single one of them. The media will twist whatever they want to twist. So what I'm telling you is that take everything you read from the major media with a grain of salt. A salt rock, okay? A salt lick. Take it with that much. A pillar of salt. Okay, not a grain, a pillar. Take it with a pillar of salt. Go back and look at their sources to see if they're making a spin. Because I'm telling you, it doesn't happen to just Romney. It happens to Santorum. It happens to Ron Paul. It happens to Gingrich. It happens to everybody. It happens to every one of them except for Mr. Obama. Okay? Now, this is really critical. If we want to vet people, go back and do your due diligence. Go back and read their sources. It was really easy. All I did was click on it. I read it online. I clicked on it. And I read the actual emails, and I thought, you've got to be kidding. What you're saying about him is absolutely opposite of what he's doing there. You've got no case. It was not even, this was the sky's blue tool. Saying he was wrong because he used private emails, which is not illegal to do, but the emails show something completely different about it. Sky's blue tool, all over the place, okay? The sky's blue tool, let's remind everybody what that is. That is where, if I say to B, frogs don't leap, and B says, yeah, frogs leap, and I say, no, frogs don't leap because the sky's blue. Well, people get carried away because they hear sky's blue and they know it's true, so they automatically assume the other half is true, when they're not even related to each other and they're not true. One truth does not make an untruth true. Okay, sky's blue tool. Okay, this happens in the media a lot. It happens a ton. Right, so we want to make sure of that. We want to make sure that we are actually looking at the right things. Because what do we want? We don't want a fascist in government. And I don't care if he's a Democrat or Republican. I don't care if he is Superman. I don't care what he is. He's not what he claims he is. He's not even a Democrat. He's a fascist. He's a fascist. He's circumventing the Constitution. He does what he wants at will. Okay? There are Democrats that have been in office that do not violate the Constitution that way. They may be liberal, but they don't violate the Constitution that way.
How many times has he said outright that he will find a way to get it done, even if Congress doesn't allow it?
Yes, and he has come out and said that of late several times. Yes, yes.
I mean, isn't that illegal?
It's very illegal. It's very illegal because he has no right to legislate. He can't make law.
There's good reason for that. Too much power.
Exactly right. Exactly right. That's how we can have dictators. That's exactly what happens.
And that is not how this country is supposed to be run. And this man was a constitutional professor? Really?
Yeah, I kind of question that he was really teaching about the Constitution.
Show me.
Because he's actually come out and said...
we don't get to see it.
I know. Yeah. Well, he has all of his records sealed.
I know.
So we can't see that either.
I know.
We not only can't see where he's been born, we have no record of what he's done while he was in office. We can't see his treaties.
We recently saw a speech that he made for Mr. Bell.
Oh, yes, so that's right. Yeah.
So we at least know he was there.
Right. Well, and I saw a picture of him teaching.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Picture's worth 1,000 words.
Yeah, blackboard.
No,
it was probably 20 years old. Yeah, it was probably 20 years old, and he's got some words written on the board, and he's doing like this, looking at the audience.
I can do that. Will you come take my picture and we'll call me a professor?
Yeah.
All right.
There we go. Yeah.
Woohoo! Who needs $170,000 in debt for college? I can just have a picture.
Yeah. Well, and I think they can verify that he was actually at Harvard. Wow. Because he and Michelle I met there.
Oh, so, okay, what was he visiting?
Well, there is this thing called a visiting professor.
Well, there you go. There you go.
So,
well,
okay,
it could have been
you
a
know.
professor and never mind.
Yeah. Don't go there. Don't go there, please. Yeah, you know what, here's the
He
thing.
has great hair. Saying something nice about them.
He's a behavior. You know what? Okay, the old colloquialism, if you can't say anything at all, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. It doesn't mean you have to say something nice. It just means don't say something if that's all you've got is something nasty to say. So you can't just be quiet. You don't have to make anything up. Yeah. You know what? We're picking on Mr. Obama, and you know what? I'll be really honest. This is the first president. I have a really hard time saying President Obama. I have never done that. With Clinton, I could say it was President Clinton. With Carter, I could say President Carter. I cannot. It will not even roll off my tongue. So I don't want to sound disrespectful to the to the office. Indeed, that's exactly why I cannot say the two together, his name and the title, because it's Mr. Obama. I really, with all due respect to anybody out there who thinks differently, I can't say them together, because I do not think he is, one, observing his oath of office, and I do not think he's worthy of the title. Okay, so, I know that we're being a little bit slapstick with him, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but the reality is we have a serious problem. We have a serious, serious problem. This man is a fascist. And so we are seeing it. We are seeing it hand over foot. It's just really, really seriously bad. Okay, I don't even know how much time I have left.
I can tell you.
Okay.
30
minutes?
We have 25 minutes.
Okay, 25 minutes. Wonderful. Okay. So we're going to shift gears a little bit, because I want to end on a really happy note. I'm actually going to read a couple of things from my emails, because I do get some really good emails from a lot of people. We have, and truly we've got a lot of smack going on. We've got Palin saying different things about different people, and she's actually been pretty good overall, I think. But we've got a lot of people. I think Mr. Santorum this morning was interviewed, and he said, you know what? And I want to bring this up because this is something that is probably Mr. Obama is going to lose sleep over. But Mr. Santorum was interviewed this morning. I don't know if you caught it, but
no.
It was actually, he said that he and Gingrich, no matter what, are staying in until the convention. And the reason why, this is what he said. He said, we are not going to give Mr. Obama the advantage of one candidate. We are not going to give him the advantage of knowing more about any one of us than he absolutely has to. Okay. Now there's somebody who gets it a little bit. Now there's a flip side to that. There's a bad side to that too, because the convention could go crazy. Okay, it could actually end up going crazy. So that's a gamble. That type of thing is a gamble. But truly, if the three top people were actually working together that way, I would say good chess playing. Good chess playing.
On Conservative Connection, Jim said that that Obama is having a heck of a time putting together a campaign with the three of them in.
Yes, and I think, and this is why, Santorum said this morning. Mr. Santorum said, you know what? We're all going to go there. Now, now this to me, if that is a reality, which obviously he said it, so it is, whether they're doing it independently or they've worked together, if they can work together, why can't we?
Absolutely.
These are three men in a different vein of thought, who come from different backgrounds, are distinctly different candidates. Okay, they have a lot in common, but they have some nuances that are distinctly different. If they can work together, because they can see what's happening, people, we need to get it together. We need to work together. Mm-hmm. Because really, we've got a lot. We have our country at stake.
Mm-hmm. And that's not just words. I mean, you hear it so many times
that
it starts, you know, it's just, you take it with a grain of salt. Eventually, when you hear something enough, you become numb to the real meaning of it. Like the Lord's Prayer. You know, how many times have you sat down and actually, not you, Cheryl, because I'm sure you more than most, and me more than most, have you actually listened to the words? Actually known what you were saying and not just going through the routine. And so many times you hear, our country is at stake. This is our freedom at stake.
Yes.
This is a year like we've never seen before.
Right.
There's more at risk now than there ever has been. And you hear that so often that you become numb to it.
Right.
But you cannot become numb to it.
And this is the thing. You know what? And I've said this before. If we wait until it's at our door, it's too late.
It's too late.
It's too late. You know, the UN is already doing things on the local level. Okay, heard me talk about that before. The reality is that people don't realize it's here. You don't realize when you look at those business parks and you see all those ponds. That's a UN thing. That's a UN dictate. And you think, oh, how beautiful, how nice it is, all vogue. No, it's not vogue. It's mandated. It's mandated. Why? Because the federal government is part of the Agenda 21, which has been in for like 20 and a half years. Okay, I think like 25 years now, maybe 30. 1970s. Okay, so 30 years. Okay, and it's been tweaked. And then we've got two other UN treaties that are social treaties that have to do with the green issue. Okay, the sustainable development. We've got 3 UN treaties that have to do with sustainable development. We've had them for a long time. And every 2 years they get together, they change the protocol, and they tweak it. All right, and that protocol has to be voted on. All right, but here's the thing: the UN, the federal government agrees with the UN. The federal government tells all the states what to do. The states tell all the counties what to do, and the counties mandate what the cities have to do. And now the cities are being told what they can and can't do with their ordinances. Okay, you don't know this. You don't know it because nobody's saying anything about it because they don't know where the trail goes. Mm-hmm. So I'm telling you where the trail goes. So here's the thing. That is close to being at your door, but it is still not at your door. If you wait for things to get at your door, it'll be too late. You'll be bearing arms. I don't want to go there. I know it sounds like a nice Wild West romantic thing. I'm sorry, I don't want to go there. As much as I believe in gun rights, I don't want to go there. So, really, people, that is not the ultimate solution. The ultimate solution is to reverse it while we can. So this goes back to the 3 main guys, and maybe Mr. Paul's in there too. Okay, if they're going to stick this out, because they know how to play chess, in other words, they can think many moves ahead, so that they can win, they can capture the king. Okay? They're going to capture the king. They're thinking many moves ahead, so that no matter who it is that comes out in the front runner, there's going to be no plan by the Mr. Obama until then. Okay? That's a very good strategy. It's a strategy that we need to do. It's a strategy we need to do. Okay, so we're gonna shift gears a little bit. I'm gonna read this little ad because this is from Sarah Palin. She's talking about the Obama commercial that's absurd new attack ad. Have you read this? Okay. It says the far left continues. This is quoting Sarah Palin. She wrote this on her Facebook page. The far left continues to believe American voters are not smart enough to grasp the diversionary tactics it employs to distract us from the issues our president just doesn't want to talk about. Issues that affect all of us every day and must be addressed. She goes on to say, Exhibit A is the diversionary tactics in these diversionary tactics is an absurd new attack by President Obama that he's released, taking my comments out of context, and this is what he says. Barack Obama has never been seen in the controversial. Okay, now this is the Mr. Obama ad, the Obama ad, and he's quoting Palin in a Fox News interview with Sean Hannity. Okay, so if you got that, it's supposed to be what Sarah Palin said to Sean Hannity, and Mr. Obama is telling us all what it is. Okay, it says Barack Obama has never been seen in the conventional, traditional way of we who would describe a man of valor. Let me read that again. Barack Obama has never been seen in the conventional, traditional way as of we who would describe a man of valor. Palin also says that the video that the president has says in the video that the president has a philosophy of radicalism and of wanting to return the country to the days before the Civil War, before those days were where we were in different classes based on income, based on color of skin. Okay, she responded to that and she said, "I'm not running for any office, but I." Then she says, "The heavily edited ad is quite odd," Palin noted. "It shows that our president sure seems fearful of discussing the economy, energy prices, and all the other problems people need addressed." Okay, this is what we were just talking about, that I was telling you that B and I were talking about during the break, is that, is the diversion tactics that he's using. He's using a lot of diversion tactics. This does not strike me as a noble thing for a president to be doing. But I found it interesting that even I mean, here she is, she's seeing it. Made me wonder how many people are actually seeing it. I would love to do some sort of, maybe a all fired up media survey. Here's the bottom line, as always is the case. It's all about us. It's all about we the people. Truly, I say this every week, and you know what? It's not old. I'm going to continue to say it because it's true, and I'm going to say it as long as I have to say it until everybody is up in arms and they are taking control of their government. Now, one thing I did think of during the week, because a lot of things that we haven't talked about have happened. And B, I think you need to adjust the camera. A lot of things have happened that that have drawn some great concern to me. Is what can we do? What is not being done that we need to have done? All right, and I'm going to tell you, this is what needs to be done. We have Daniel Issa, who is the chair of the ethics committee. He's kind of like a lone man in the wilderness. He gets beat up all the time by the Obama administration, and you don't hear about it, but he does. He did a major investigation and from the military, and it kind of hit the conservative news, but it wasn't on the mainstream news, which is unfortunate because who do people mostly listen to? It's the mainstream news. Okay, so, the reason I bring him up is because, a lot of things that he's investigated, I thought, well, why aren't these things out already? What is going on? Why isn't it happening? Why aren't changes made? Why is it Mr. Obama being impeached? All right, this is the thing that we need to do. We need to build a coalition of people. We need to have signatures that go to our representatives demanding that they make certain types of laws to stop Mr. Obama from legislating from his office. This is how you stop that. We talked about this at the beginning of the show. Why isn't it, when we talked about fascism and how the leader is considered the omnipotent. He's the cult is the leader. Okay, the cult of the leader. Okay, this is what we need to do. We need to take back our leadership. We need to be in control. So this is what I'm just telling you. This is what we need to do. We need to go to our legislators and say, I want you to write a bill that prohibits the executive branch from legislating through executive order. Make it a law. It's in the Constitution, but it's not being upheld. So make it a law. Have it go through the Congress and say, this is what we need. Okay, we need a law that says, Mr. Obama, Mr. whoever is in the office, you cannot make law from an executive order. You can do only what the Constitution says you can do, which is to execute the law. Not make it. Execute it. That's the whole point of the administrative branch of government, of the executive branch, is to execute the law. That's what we need to do. We need to go, we need to write a bill. I don't care if you sit over the dinner table with your family and just say, hey, let's have some fun, pretend like we are the Congress and make it a game and write your own bill. And then take it somewhere. Take it to your your congressman, not your state congressman, your congressman, your federal congressman, and your senators. Okay, this is number 2. Along with the presidential primaries, we have senatorial races. We want to be able to have the ability of things that go through Congress to pass through the Senate, which they are not right now. Why? Because the Senate is still out of balance. It still has the Democratic Party is in control of the Senate. Harry Reid is the Senate president, the Senate president, and so he controls the bills that go through. Okay, that means that anything that you and I would like changed that reverses all the nefarious things that have happened can't get through because it can't go through the Senate. So number 2, don't vote just for a president that's going to take out the fascist in office. Get a conservative senator in office. That's the second thing that needs to happen. We need to change the balance in the Senate. Okay, Texas is one of those people. We have Kay Bailey Hutchinson, who is resigning, and so the field is open. So Texas is one of those states that's got a Senate seat open, and we have an opportunity to put a real conservative in there. Somebody who is going to reverse some of these things that have happened with a fascist. And by the way, it's going to be a conservative. It has to be somebody willing to reverse, because so much has happened in violation of the Constitution with Mr. Obama. It's got to be people that are going to reverse, not maintain, and not grow a little, which would be okay under certain circumstances in any other era, but not this one.
That means somebody who isn't afraid to make waves and isn't afraid to make enemies.
Right, because they're gonna get a backlash, especially from the media.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they've got to have a backbone, which I think at least 2 of the candidates running for president have a backbone. So it doesn't matter who they are, because I'm not going to endorse somebody. This is all about the Constitution on this show. So this, we're not going to go there. But here's the thing that's really important. You really have a lot more power, and it isn't an overwhelming thing. It's simple things. It's really simple. Just look at who you've got to run as senator in your state. Pick the person who's going to reverse what's happened with Mr. Obama. Find a presidential candidate who is going to fight a fascist in government, who's going to get them out of office. Okay? 2 things. And then go to your legislator, write them, email them. It's quick as a click on the button. And tell them you want a bill that forbids the president from making law from executive orders. 3 things today that will make a huge difference tomorrow if you did it. Just do it. It's a 5-minute deal. It's 5 minutes. Okay, I'm going to leave you with that. This is Foundation of a Nation. Let's keep our nation strong. Let's make sure that we don't lose our foundation. This is Cheryl Devereaux, and I'll see you next week.